This is what the hair and facial hair and everything look like when I haven't had time to shave in a little while, because I've been busy. So the Superman and James Gunn episode that went up earlier this week is going up in 2 parts, possibly 3 parts, instead of 1 like I wanted it to, partly because it just ran long and had to be divided up with the Creature Commandos type stuff put in the front part and looking ahead stuff put in the second part, because that just made sense. Also, because looking at the timing of the year, it was looking like we might actually get a Superman trailer. I didn't want to get caught with my pants fucking down with, hey, putting up a Superman episode, and then the trailer comes out, and now everything without trailer stuff in it is irrelevant and pushed way down in the algorithm. And hey, look at that, James Gunn has now announced that we're getting a Superman trailer on Thursday, so maybe part of the episode will come out before the trailer. I would hope that that's the case, but maybe not. Maybe it'll come out after and there will have to be some editing involved. Either way, that is why it was probably a good call on my part to break the episode up, and it'll come out as it comes out, because most of it'll still be relevant without trailer stuff in it, but if it has trailer stuff in it and I get to drop in a little bit more, that's more's the better for me and more's the better for you. Everybody wins. Merry fucking Christmas. Anyway, as part of knowing that the trailer is coming out, we got our first motion poster for this, which you can see playing without sound over to my left. And, you know, I gotta mention something about this. This is the reason for putting up this one extra bit of content in between videos coming out, is I had one other prediction about this movie, pre-trailer, pre-release, that I had not even spoken aloud, written about, talked about anywhere, because I just had a feeling. And I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to speak it out of existence, basically, like a karmic knock on wood thing. And now, it almost feels a little bit like James Gunn just tweeted it out, plausibly. And if I can play a little bit of the audio part of this motion poster without hopefully getting zapped completely of revenue by YouTube, well, here's that. So the notes and the vocals there are the John Williams Superman theme. It's a remix, obviously, and there's some bits in the background that sound a little bit like reference to the Hans Zimmer Man of Steel theme, which, fine, okay. But that's unmistakably the John Williams music, and it's not like we haven't heard a little bit of that in, I mean, they reused it in Superman Returns. I'm pretty sure the only reason Superman Returns bothered trying to be a sequel to the Christopher Reeve movies, the first 2 at least, even though it didn't really use the same aesthetic, didn't have any of the same actors, etc., was to justify using the music. And they used notes of it in The Flash for those awful deepfake cameo business. You know, James Gunn has the reputation as being Mr. Needledrop in these movies, just, you know, putting in a perfect piece of music, usually from a pop song catalog or classic rock stuff. And it just I had a feeling that, well, this does have an original score, and the movie has its own composer, that with everything else that is very classic, back to basics, use the best stuff, aspects of Superman, that yes, this would be, even though there'd been no questions about it, no one had really seemed to broach the subject. And I feel like maybe a lot of people's mindsets were in the same place as mine, that if too many people asked about it, they wouldn't do it. Same deal as, you know, bringing back the red briefs, that if too many people made too big a deal out of it, they might decide, nah, it's cheesy if too many people are looking into it, so we just want to do it, and then they did it, because it's just right. I'm sorry, it's right. They should be there. They're there. It belongs. It's a more streamlined version of, but it belongs. The same way as having the red and yellow logo. It's a cool Kingdom Come-y version of it, but it looks cool, and it just looks right. Having the yellow logo on the back of the cape, it looks right. It's supposed to be there. At least I think so. It's supposed to be there. It makes it look more dynamic. It's cool. I'm sure, without even looking, I've seen a little bit, without even looking, I'm sure people are already whining and complaining about this. Especially the fucking Snyder Cult people. That this is just nostalgia. This is all you want is iconography. All you want is to make this feel like you're a kid again. And One, it's a fucking Superman movie. What else should it be? And it's rich to hear this from the same fucking audience that filled its diaper, and I know it's the same fucking guys, that filled their goddamn diapers bloody and nasty over the word, the concept of subverting expectations being just raised about those last couple Star Wars movies. But let it happen in the DC Extended Universe horse shit. And, you know, everything needed to be stripped out and gritted out, and every change and realignment was good. Yes, do it, fine, fuck them up. But when you suggest that maybe a Superman movie should be about Superman and feel like Superman, and maybe the Superman music should be in Superman, that's bad. That's too much nostalgia. That's too much iconography. Now, it doesn't bother me to have these kinds of discussions. One thing that never pisses me off is someone calling me a hypocrite or accusing me of double standards. Nobody uses the word double standard correctly. They're usually just talking about a standard that they don't like. Bad things are bad and good things are good is not a double standard. That's just a standard. Sometimes it's a standard that you don't like. That doesn't make it a double standard. That's just a standard you don't care for. Dipshit. But yes, if they play the John Williams Superman, even now, I don't expect that they're just going to reuse the John Williams score like they did in Superman Returns. Maybe they won't use it all. Maybe this is just a note for the poster. But I gotta tell you, if they save it, even for just one moment of this, like just for one big, oh wow, yeah, it's Superman. Whew. I will not be held responsible for my emotional reaction in those theaters, and I will not be alone. I will not be alone, I'll tell you. This director knows his audience.
It's always been the same old story.
And I don't think it's the same thing as only making a fan film and only making references. Yes, if this movie was nothing but nostalgia porn, like Superman Returns tried to be, that movie was fine, but a lot of it really is, hey, weren't these previous movies great, and don't we all miss Christopher Reeve? Which we do, but that's really pretty much the emotional core of that movie, not things that were happening in the film. It was, hey, weren't these other movies that you saw and that we all sort of culturally remember great? It has some interesting ideas to it, but it's not enough in its own right. Still leagues better than Man of Steel and the entirety of the DCEU Superman side of horse shit, but I digress. The emotional manipulation that The Flash tries to pull out of it, good God, what a horror show. But I think that using it referentially here, just borrowing it, to a certain extent, I think that the John Williams Superman music, the theme especially, if not the whole orchestration, just the main theme. At this point, people who don't know that music was not written to be just the song about Superman when that character was first created decades before that movie existed, think of that as the Superman music. Everyone knows that orchestration. It is as associated with Superman as things like Kryptonite, Up, Up, and Away, Faster Than a Speeding Bullet, and other things that were not originally part of the mythos and did not come from the comics. And I think that is sort of how it belongs in the franchise. John Williams and John Williams' estate is interested to still be getting the royalties and the money from it forever and ever and ever. It's an astonishing piece of music. It may be his masterpiece, even above the Star Wars theme, the Indiana Jones theme, etc. At a certain point, almost every Superman theme that's been written has either been in reference to it or trying to defy it in some way, and there comes a point where you just kind of have to say, you know what, this is the Star-Spangled Banner of this character. This is the God Save the Queen of this character. You just kind of have to let it be the Superman theme and say, this is the theme of this character, in my opinion. And it should have happened a while ago, that Warner Brothers said, you know what, for as long as we own this piece of music and we own Superman, this is just the music that plays when Superman is on screen. If you don't want to do it, fine, you know, let that be the identity of that particular version of Superman. Let that be part of what defines this is a different Superman. But in general, it's fine to have this be basically Superman's version of the bat signal. You know, in the show The Penguin, Batman never shows up, but the very last thing that we see, spoiler for The Penguin, you can cover your ears if you want, is the bat signal lighting up the sky for like a second. And then, you know, oh shit, he's fucked, or oh, someone's fucked, or oh, Batman's gonna come and there's a showdown, because we know, okay, yeah, Batman exists in this universe. The first couple notes of that John Williams Superman music lets you know, oh, Superman's here before Superman shows up. Everyone knows it. It's universal. You can run that music in movies where Superman does not appear. They run it in the fucking Goonies as a music sting to let you know that a guy just did something heroic and is now officially one of the good guys.
We're in deep shit now, Francis.
Culturally, it means something transcendently beyond just one movie. In the same way that when they run the Star Wars theme in, like, Ferris Bueller, which is one of the jokes that actually holds up from Ferris Bueller, everyone gets what that's supposed to say about the state of mind of the characters who are making the car jump while the Star Wars theme is playing. But I'm getting off track. Whether or not that particular music or some version of that is in the movie is not going to be like a determining factor to whether or not I enjoy it or not. I'm not someone who builds up an idea of what a movie should be in my head and then decides whether or not the movie is good based on whether or not it meets that. That is the bane of criticism and fan reaction in general. But it feels like something that this particular filmmaker for this particular project would do, because it's something from culture that elicits a specific reaction. And it feels like it's in this poster, at least, for a reason. And what it says to me is what it said about this entire thing so far, is that this particular filmmaker understands what he's been handed with this character at this moment to do something very special and transcendent and important. Because let's be very clear here, motion posters are almost always the dumbest thing. It's a cutout and some moving lights and sometimes some visual elements moving against a background that's shifting a little bit. They're cheesy. I don't think there's ever been like a transcendently beautiful motion poster, especially with audio. This is a transcendently beautiful art piece in the form of a motion poster, which sounds as foreign to my ears and way of speaking as saying transcendently beautiful art piece NFT. But the combination of image and sound here, just from those notes and this orchestration, is like heart in throat for me. And it's just a movie that's just about comic book character. There's bigger things going on, bigger, more important, happier, sadder, scarier things in the world. But I really do think that James Gunn might save the day here. You know, the last person who was trusted to take over the Superman franchise, who was not a bad filmmaker, had probably good intentions, wanted to do the right thing, failed so spectacularly. And I know there's people that disagree. They're wrong. They're very wrong. Failed so spectacularly between Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and then both versions of Justice League. So really two filmmakers between everyone at Warner Brothers who had a hand in that disaster. Failed so spectacularly that there isn't really a Warner Brothers anymore. It's a fucking shell of itself that is being kept on life support by a wing and a prayer and the hope that a couple pieces of IP, one of which is this DC Studios project, can drag it forward long enough for someone else to sustain it. But I'm looking at this and I'm listening to it, and I'm looking ahead at things that I will discuss in the remainder of the actual episode, and I think James Gunn might save the day. There's a chance. There's an actual chance.